So I'm not being exiled twice on a certain path. The simple reason is because I just simply can't run it. It's not a game problem, it is literally a setup problem as we get into a Thotu cult random item stats. So, with custom characters of course, but just trying to remember, was it cult? Oh my goodness, I'm going absolutely crazy now. But a Thotu cult, that's the best I can do. But yeah, I'm not playing that. I know it's at the time of this recording where we have a free, pretty much a free weekend. Can't run the game, so I get a black screen, even though I can hear the audio. So that's a common sign of not having the specs to play a game, essentially. So shrug. That's why I'm not gonna be playing a certain theme. So as we get into Thotu cult random item custom character, I'm gonna be focusing on other things. But yeah, because I'm not being a second exile on a certain path, because my setup, none of the setups I have can run it. I think it's available actually out. I think it's actually available on consoles as well, right? Am I going crazy? Anyway, charisma, strength, dexterity, second encounter, knowledge, and maybe a second mystery check. Otherwise, from what I've heard from what I consider credible sources, as we have no Takshisan in every single stat check, I do believe that it's a fun game. I'm sure it's a fun game. I just haven't gotten my hands on it. Also because at this time, even though I'm slowing down on racing horses for the moment, I was planning to do more, but I have to concentrate. I promise you basically that if I don't get things done this month, it's going to be really, really bad for me, and I'll have no one else to blame than myself, as we have Akamanto, Mermaids, Vigil, Orphan, and Auteur. So the mysteries I've rotated in by this point are usually going to be less damaging. I fail to see just well, I'm mostly basing it off of bosses. I'll take Orphan just to be certain. We can probably do Vigil into Akamanto, but I'm pretty sure, unless there's something I've just been missing here and there, hey. But for the most part, you don't always need... Bosses are not always an identifier of a mystery being harder, if for no other reason than aside from just the bonus status effects that can hurt you as well. That characters that are very good in encounters oftentimes don't have as much of a problem, and they actually do, at least in my experience, have, and this is personal bias by the way, they have worse times dealing with events just in general. So if there are a bunch of linked events or stat checks that are not in a character's favor, whether it's because... Ooh, 5 damage meat cleaver, by the way. Either because they have low stats overall, or just they're weak in stats that... commonly, characters that are good in encounters are... Oh, I forgot. It's been a while since I did that, by the way. You always pick the left option on that event. That's the takeaway from this video if you want to learn anything. But, yeah, usually, so for example, say you have, not Kyrie, but a knowledge character, usually they have, like, 7 knowledge on Harbinger, and maybe 5 strength, and they're a very combat-capable character. But the rest of their stats are like 4 or 3 on Harbinger, so therefore they have a harder time. Now, if you roll 12s like I do, doesn't really matter, but you get the point. On average, events are going to be usually a lot harder, but if I had to weigh on the scale of enemies versus events, yeah, as we're looking at a very bad event right now, enemies are going to make a run, enemies and by extension bosses are going to make a mystery harder, or just a run harder in general, but you get the point. If we are comparing not apples to oranges, but mysteries with other mysteries. And there are other things you can do, you know, if you lock out locations here and there, you can make a mystery just harder, because maybe for some reason you disable home, and you can't rest anymore. But this is in line with other mysteries like Flood or Festival, which while you can, there are ways to rest, you don't have the rest option available at all times, and especially right before a boss. So Flood is kind of an exception here, but Vigil would probably be the more proper example, where you have no other course of resting, so you have to prepare yourself before and after the mystery, but certainly before. Basically, you don't want to take a mystery where you're going to go into 3 stamina, 2 reason, moving into Vigil. And if you can avoid it, it would be nice to pick any other mystery beforehand. Vigil Pamphlet. Clap Sandwich. Sounds weird, but makes sense in the context of what's happening in game, and off we go. So yeah, something else I wanted to mention is I wanted to get back to other games that I played before, but it's just not going to happen because I have to focus on my own. I really don't want to item bug myself, so instead, I think I'm just going to store that. Would be nice to throw, but I don't want to item bug myself, so... really quickly, for those who don't know, the item bug is if you throw an item which you have a... if you throw a duplicate version of an item of which you have equipped, the game doesn't think that you actually tossed any items away, and therefore thinks that item is still in your inventory, even though it is clearly not. Don't know if that's going to be fixed in the next update. I can imagine, I mean, I would assume it might be. I was going to say would, but there's no guarantee. But I can see how that may cause other issues if you were to, especially if you were to Band-Aid fix it, but say that something something otherworldly happens, or basically, because again, I don't know how World of Horror is coded, so shrug. By the way, 33% Doom on our second mystery, which is par for the course. I did prepare for fun, so shrug. But as we have 13 max stamina and 3 reason, as long as we continue moving onward, and I should have really stored like the long pig steak and kept the mask. If nothing else weird happens, as we lose more reason here. But more importantly for the funny mask, if we didn't run to an enemy, then it's fine. So, what else? I think we do Akamanto now. Yeah, Akamanto now. There's no way to trade off stamina, so I'm rubbing my nose because my nose is in pain. But, which also, just to note, really funny, I'm doing a little home remedy with onions, and that's all I'll say about that. It's specifically a part on my head that is not doing so well, but we'll see what happens now that I've done this treatment. Basically, I'm trying to make do with what I have. And if you want to be really conspiracy theory about it, yes, the fact that I'm having trouble with personal stuff, it does make a difference. But I'm going through it. We're going through it. We're going through it. We're going through it. But otherwise, I just want to focus on, you know, if I'm on this channel, I'm here to entertain, which is a big part of it, at least. But also the other part is trying to get better as a human being, as I fail to remember. I mean, if my memory in these videos is anything to go by, boy, can it be a lot harder everywhere else. I think I actually want to keep this box cutter with me. Especially for Akamanto. Yeah, this is a better box cutter. I think it base does 6 damage. There's no way it does 8, so yeah, it must be doing more damage. Also, we've been visiting the hospital a lot, but the downtown area is just as bad, so hey. And considering we're in Akamanto, we can afford to take a bit more Doom left, right, and center. Now, as for my reason, on the other hand, well, let's hope that it stays high. We can actually still take this. In fact, we one-turn this. Now, does the box cutter break? No, thankfully. So, I think we could possibly even just one-shot Akamanto here. I guess we're going to find out. So let's take everything we can throw. I'm not going to be so confident, otherwise I should really just... you know what? Yeah, let's go full throttle. So, 2 damage, 4, 3 I'm going crazy. Well, either way, I think I can one-shot Akamanto here. Let's find out. Funny Mask giving us reason there, but otherwise... 21 damage, yeah, between every item I have in inventory here, I think we should be able to. In fact, I don't even need to throw the other meat cleaver, or the meat cleaver that I have. In fact, I don't want to do that. But we don't need to do that, because we already do 21 damage. This is very, yeah, random item stats actually working out here. How much damage do we have now? 4 damage box cutter. Might actually want to keep that on. Depends how much perception. Yeah, I think funny enough we use this over the meat cleaver. The meat cleaver could get bonus damage, but it's just so fast. An extra 20 speed here does make a big difference, by the way. It's not 20, but it's close enough it doesn't matter. If it's like 15, if there's a 15 speed value difference, I promise you it makes a lot of difference. If for no other reason than being able to prep attack. Morbid Inspiration, because we're losing reason. And we're going to take Strength just so we can brace more. Mermaids or Auteur? Let's do Auteur. Actually, I should have done Mermaids so I can just take the thing. Also, we have Blood Frenzy. I forgot about that. But if we can one-turn enemies with the power of fast attacks or just the damage we can do, then that's just as good. But anywho. So we want to fail this. Charisma. Nope, it was a dexterity check. We rolled a 1 anyway, so even if it could be any stat and we would have passed. Shrug! But off we go. There's something else I wanted to say. Was that all I wanted to say? I mean, I did have a fun time playing an Exiled Path, the first one, but... And I could just continue going back to it over and over, we just take the thing. Actually, that is free. Wait, I failed that and I got +1 stamina. Anywho, but yeah, can't play the second one at the moment because I just can't. So hey, we failed the charisma check. That's the charisma check. I'm going absolutely crazy. Does this just burns? I mean, we rolled an 11, so shrug. That takes dexterity, but we probably weren't getting that to anyway. Yeah. If we run into out of funds, we'll probably trade off Doom, but otherwise, we get inspired by reason loss, and off we go. So I think for the next 12 hours, I'm still doing some heavy research, but after those 12 hours, I might... No, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, because I don't know if it's going to be true. But basically, just know, as I accidentally don't equip the ritual rope, I'm going crazy. Basically, I'm doing some other stuff. It does have to do with the thingy-majiggy, with game development, but let's just say that stories have become a bit more... What's the word? I don't want to say predictable. I was going to say predictable, but that's not what the word I want to use. Let's just say that with time and effort, it's not great if the reader, audience, or viewer can see the ending of can see how your story is going to play out, not just the ending. And I'm just being very vague here. I could just say specifically what I was looking into, but again, I'm reading, watching other sources more for research. Most of them do well, but there are more than a few examples as we katana our way to victory, question mark? Ooh, 8 damage though. Never mind. I think we get more potential damage off 3 box cutter attacks. Now, whether or not that's true completely, it's probably going to be better than getting 13 damage. 13 because we have Blood Frenzy on top of 12 with Prep Strong. Shrug. And that's all I really have to say at the moment. But yeah, it's not great. Now, I'm not saying my stories or my games are going to have the, like, deepest plot anyway. I would never... Well, I wouldn't have confidence in that regard, because I'm focusing more on game... Oh my sweet goodness. Can we do this, by the way? Yes, we can. Yeah, this is definitely more than the katana. Now, if we missed, like, 3 of these attacks, I would have been very, very sad. In fact, we only needed to miss 2 for bad things to happen. But we can take the burns here. Because no matter what, Takshisan with 54% Doom effectively is not going to be able to stop us. Actually, we don't have Takshisan. But either way, I mean, it's nice to have a character with a lot of perception and okay strength. That's another key part. But I mean, also noting that I haven't been bracing a lot, but that's because we've been using a fast weapon on a Thotu plus Blood Frenzy. And I do agree with enough damage increases, you can just not worry about having things like Blood Frenzy where you're taking damage yourself, but the problem is that usually you're in kind of a threshold of 4 to 5 damage, and so therefore you're missing an extra point which would allow you to one-turn enemies. Basically, until you get enough damage to one-turn enemies, yeah, you're not gonna be able to one-turn, which means you are taking more damage. Even just being hit once can be very, very detrimental to your run, even if it's just 3 stamina due to having the enemy getting a 2 stamina, 2 damage increase. Vigil, by the way. And off we go. But yeah, without further ado, if you want to suggest anything, you know what to do. Otherwise, I'm not going to take up much more of your time. Support me if you want. All things ending the video, blah, 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 blah. I'll see you later. Thank you for watching. Bye!